What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of SSPN Offseason. But Ethan, it isn't just any edition. We got our guy Lou, Saucy Takes, if you remember him from last year, in the building to not just talk about the draft once again, as we saw all of the wonderful information that he gave us last year. But I'm glad you were clapping there, Ethan, because let's give my guy or our guy a round of applause from Spurs Nation. Yes, please
Please,
clap.
please, thank you. No,
Wave
thank you.
like
It's all good.
wave like your pop, man. Like because we are so happy to have you back on after the season that Stephon Castle had. But even more importantly than that, man, me and Ethan have been doing our best to dive into all these different prospects. You know what I mean? And we can do our best to have our opinions, but with what you told us last year and how much of it came true. But regardless of even that, just having a different perspective from someone like yourself who's a Heat fan, somebody outside of the Spurs, is just so awesome. But y'all follow him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Saucy Takes. I almost said at SSPN. I'm so used to it. But at Saucy Takes to get a bunch of great draft content. Man, you're just in the trenches when it comes to grinding tape for whether it's guys in overseas or in the U.S. So we're so excited to have you, man.
Oh man, it's a pleasure to be back, especially knowing a full year has gone by and Stephon Castle is who I thought he was. Not going to be a world beater, but damn it, is he? Damn it, can he be impactful? Damn it, was he good as a rookie? Obviously took some lumps, especially early in the season, but man, all in all, like I'm just happy that the evaluation that I had on him wasn't too far fetched, and it was I think it was pretty accurate. I'm happy he won Rookie of the Year. I put my money where my mouth was before the season started. I bet the odds. I made money off of him because I was confident in my evaluation. Now, we'll see where this goes and where he goes forward. But I mean, I think obviously just off of one season, it looks like it was the right pick.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more. Ethan, I'll toss it to you. Just for this first segment, we're kind of going to talk about Stephon's season. Is there anything, kind of on your mind in regards to Stephon you wanted to pick Lou's brain on?
Dude, you're a prophet, my guy. That's really all I have to say. I mean, we were so skeptical. Well, skeptical is the wrong word, but we were like a little doubtful because we were like,
Absolutely.
Reece Sachet is the guy everyone has as the number one prospect, and you were the first person, at least amongst my group of people, that was telling me, no, Stephon Castle's the one. You run to the podium, I think was your actual quote, if he's available at
Absolutely.
4. And that just that came to fruition. Do you think long term, are you as confident in his ability to be like all-star potential level, shooting guard? Because Jude and I have images of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander when we watch him play. Do you see any of those kind of comps?
The so it's always tough to get to all-star level. Like I want people to understand how difficult, first of all, it is to get to all-star level. Somebody who's, everybody would think of it as an all-star is Trae Young, and he barely snuck in and made it,
True.
basically got snubbed 2 years in a row. So I think it's a tough benchmark to hit. Do I think he has the potential to get there? Yes. Like I did last year. I don't think anything has changed. In terms of realistically, do I think he's going to get there? I doubt it, just because it's so hard. It's not a knock on him, but I mean, the shades of SGA, like that's the high end ceiling. I still see somebody who's really, really impactful. Obviously, you guys, especially once Wemby got hurt, the season kind of got derailed a little bit. But I think he's somebody who helps you win basketball games. I mean, I'm sticking to it. My comp to him last year was Josh Hart. Like at the minimum, you're going to get like a Josh Hart level intensity player. Obviously, they have some differences, but just in terms of in these playoffs, it is just so hammered with guards who can play up, guards who are versatile, guards who can defend, who can rebound, who can pass, who can facilitate, who can drive. That's what Stephon Castle's game is. Obviously, the shooting is something you'd like to see improve, but it's not the end all be all because he just does so many things. So I mean, SGA, shit, I wish, man. Like if he turns into SGA, I'd be through the fucking roof. Oh, my bad.
You're
I'd
good.
be through the
You're
roof.
good. You're good.
No, absolutely. And I think, what Ethan's kind of referring to there is when you look at his decel game and, how he
Oh,
can contort himself around the basket. That's where we really see, like, we talked about it at multiple points this season. It almost is like a jacked SGA, in that kind of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even with that being said, man, you touched on his shooting a little bit there. I'm not sure how much you got to see kind of at the beginning, or excuse me, at the end of the season. But there was kind of a stretch at the end of the year. The percentage wasn't crazy, and I can't remember the exact number of games it was, but it was obviously in that stretch, not just post the Wemby injury, but also post De'Aaron Fox getting shut down as well, where he was taking 6 threes a game. I think it was like in the last 16 games of the season, something like that. I could be off there. Y'all can correct me in the comments, where he was taking 6 threes a game and shot 30%. And, as much as that's nothing crazy, I really felt like, especially eye test wise, and I think Ethan would agree with this.
Mm-hmm.
And, part of this is he just got more opportunities. When he gets less opportunities, is he going to be, as consistent? Will those numbers decrease with less shots? Right. But I really feel like his form improved at the end of the season. Like when it was really kind of all on him at the end of the year. You saw a couple games where he went on heaters and, was even shooting like some deep range threes and it looked smooth and it was a swish, and it's kind of reminded me of last year. We talked about him at the combine and how there was some promise there with some of the numbers. And even there was a recent video that was released kind of showing him, standing forwards and then like turning around backwards, having his feet set and shooting threes. Anyways, all of that being said, long story short, what were your thoughts on the progression in his shot that you saw this season? Or did you even see any progression? Like, what were your thoughts on his jump shot this year and how it turned out?
I mean, obviously, ending the season shooting sub 30% from 3 is a worrisome thing. Like, it's not here to get sugarcoated, but I do think just in general, the way his shot looks, like he shot over 72% at the free throw line. So I think that projects well long term. Per synergy, he shot almost 35% on open threes. So a lot of the misses just came off of dribble jump shots, which, it shouldn't be like that's hard to do, period, let alone for a rookie who came in with a little bit of like, question marks around his shot. Everybody always likes to joke, like if you like a player, you think the shot's going to improve. But I mean, truthfully, I do think his shot can improve. I mean, he showed glimpses, like you said, but I think the biggest takeaway is once the shot quality for him is just a little bit better with 1-2 years under training. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys saw like the recent interview that they had where Danny Green was talking about how Kawhi did not know how to shoot the ball. Like, what better place to go to than the Spurs? Like, you guys, have had a history of developing a so-so to bad shooter to a legitimate sniper in Kawhi Leonard throughout his career with the Spurs. Like, you take a chance on that guy. And just to like answer your question, absolutely, I think his shooting is going to improve. I would put a lot of money to say he will never shoot under 30% again in his career from 3. Like, I just don't see that happening again. Is he ever going to get up to 38, 39 on volume? Maybe not, honestly, but he does so many other things that I don't want it just to be about the jump shot. I mean, we're watching Andrew Nembhard shoot 29% from 3 in the regular season, and shit, come playoff time, this man does not miss. Right. So like, and ultimately, I think that's why you guys drafted Stephon Castle. Like, the regular season stuff is going to take his lumps, but when it's time to win those final 16 games, he's going to show up. And I have no fucking question in my mind because he did it at UConn. Yeah. As a freshman, as an 18-year-old freshman playing for Dan Hurley, that does not happen overnight, man.
Anything else on Steph, Ethan? Yeah.
I have one more question that kind of will lead us into the next topic, Jude, but we saw it at UConn. Do you think in the NBA he has the ability to play not just point guard, but shooting guard, even small forward, moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't value him as a point guard last year. I thought that the nonsense about, first of all, I think he didn't want to go to Charlotte. Like, I'm gonna be very honest. Like, I think that was, yeah. I don't fucking blame him, to be honest. But like, I do think some of that played into his like, I'm only gonna play point guard. Like, don't take me if you, it's probably agent speak. Like, he probably knew he wanted to go to San Antonio. He just couldn't come out publicly and say it. Yeah. So I do think that he can play wing. That's all he played at UConn. He was strictly a wing. He was never on ball. Like, it was very few glimpses. They were there, and the self-creation was there. The ability to play make was there in flashes. But I mean, I don't think he did a bad job playmaking for you guys this year. Obviously, maybe a little bit too many turnovers and stuff of that nature, but the rim pressure is evident with him on ball. So it's just, like he's 6'6". Yes, he can guard twos. Yes, he can guard threes. He's stocky. He can guard some fours, especially in today's league. Like, I don't think, positions don't really matter in today's NBA. I think it's one of the most it's a tough talking point, because at the end of the day, you have initiators, you have wings, and you have bigs. Like, play them wherever. And I think Stephon Castle is, he's a wing / combo guard who maybe can be an initiator from time to time, but you guys had the season to allow him to develop. Maybe next season he develops a little bit more. Who knows? But, now you got De'Aaron Fox. There's no rush for it, is my point. Like, but he could absolutely play wing. Like, if Stephon Castle was your starting small forward next season, you should be happy. Like, you shouldn't be upset. If he was your starting shooting guard, I think you should be happy too. You shouldn't be upset. If he's on your team, I think you should be happy. You shouldn't be upset. Like, it's you could be the Heat. Like, shit could be really bad. So,
hey, y'all got Khalil Ware. I think he deserved the third place in Rookie of the Year, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, Khalil was great, but we have our front office is senile at this point, so it's okay.
I feel you in another one of my favorite sports. No, the Saints. I'm a Saints fan.
Oh,
so
God, you have an idea.
I do have an idea, trust.
Cowboys, I guess, too.
Just a little fun sidetrack. By the way, if the Heat didn't make the playoffs, we were supposed to get the Mavs pick, which ended up being Cooper Flagg. And the ironic part is everybody's like, oh, whatever, if the Heat, it wasn't going to happen. For majority of the second half of the season, we were in 8th. We had y'all's lottery odds. So we could have got him or Dylan Harper, and instead we're going to be picking like Noah Penda or something. Like, it's going to be a tough day for us as Heat fans. Poor Bam. Hey, with number 2, I'm just saying, Bam might be on the trading block.
Hey, now, that's not a name I would pass up lightly, Mr. Jude.
I'm with you there, Ethan. Okay, one more question on Steph, because I just got to ask you this. And when you brought up his rim pressure point, we talked about the decel, how he can contort himself around the basket, and just him driving to the rim and what that does for teams' offenses. I'm sure you probably saw the nickname that started floating around in San Antonio this year, Area 51, with him and Victor on the court together. What are your thoughts on just their pairing and kind of how Wemby, with his shooting progression, if it continues to go the way that it does, on top of all of his other skills, how can they kind of play off of each other? What's your view of that from an outsider's perspective?
I mean, defensively, I don't really have too many question marks. A lot of it comes down offensively to, again, how much can Wemby improve the outside shot to create space for Stephon, and how much can Stephon put pressure on teams to close out to create space for himself. I don't have I was looking at the on-off numbers. Like, Stephon by himself was not good, as most of the Spurs were, but as soon as you took Wemby in or out, like, they were positive with Wemby on the floor. Like, they were plus 1.9, I think it was, when I saw like 60 something percentile. Like, they were a good team. Obviously not a contender by any stretch of the imagination yet, but you didn't expect to be anyways. Like, this is a forward thinking. And I do think that pairing is ultimately is good enough to, not saying Stephon should be your 2 or Stephon should even be your 3. Like, you should want 5 great basketball players playing at all times. I think that's the winning formula. But I think he definitely fits into one of those 5 guys who can help you win a championship.
All right, Ethan, you kind of set this one up earlier, but I'll just kind of let you ask the question here. So obviously at number 2, and Lou, we want to kind of get your opinion on this as well. So here, let me actually start with this before we get into, maybe the potential fit with Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle all on the same team, because that's where I was going. And I'm kind of taking Ethan's thunder here, my bad.
Sorry.
But let me ask this. What are your thoughts? Because it seems like all the experts are saying this is, a 1 and 2 person draft. There's like 2 tiers. There's Cooper Flagg, and then there's Dylan Harper, and then there's everybody else. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is a 1 person draft. I think this is a Cooper Flagg draft. And I do have Dylan number 2, but I don't think there's a tier difference. There's a lot of guys that if fit is where it depends. Like, I do have him, like, if I want, like, I'd have him maybe tier 2 and everybody else tier 2.5, but like, it's very clear 1 Cooper and then tier 2 than 2.5. Like, with that being said, like, I don't disagree with the fact that it is a 2-person draft. I would probably take Dylan if I was picking 2, if like for any team in the league, just because I do think he is slightly better than everybody else. Unless you're trying to win right now, then we can get into discussions about that. But yeah, like I don't know. It's not as cut and dry as everybody makes it seem, but I do think he is the second best player in this draft. But I feel like that just takes away from like how good Ace Bailey is, how good VJ Edgecombe is. To me, how good Cayman Malawak is, like how good Trey Johnson is. Like, these guys are all in the same tier for me, like slightly below Dylan, but they're all like right there. Like, Khan is another one who's pretty close to that tier. Jeremiah Fear is another. Like, there's talent in this draft. Like, I think picking at 8, you guys probably would have had an easy selection, in the sense that like you were just going to take whoever the best shooter was at that moment in time, in my opinion, especially if they were a wing. Now you have an an easier choice to make, because I think Dylan should be the choice, but the fit is where the questions, like, just because it's an easier choice doesn't mean it's an easier fit, especially with Dylan.
That kind of leads us into the next question then. Let's say the Spurs are at 2, they pick Dylan Harper. Where are your concerns as far as fit with this team? We have De'Aaron Fox, we have Stephon Castle, a lot of big names in the guard room.
I feel like there's too many names in the guard room. That's my concern. Can Dylan Harper play the 2? Can Stephon play the 3? Yes. Like, size wise, I like, he measured at 6'6", 215 with a 6'11" wingspan. Yeah, that guy can play shooting guard in today's NBA. Like, of course he can. That's not a concern. The concern more so comes to be the reason why Dylan Harper is, in my opinion, the second best player in this draft is because he has the ball in his hands. He is not a bad spot-up shooter. This is not to take away from his ability to shoot. I don't think he's a great shooter, but I think he's an average shooter right now, and especially in spot-ups, I think he's closer to above average than he is to below average. So but neither, like, the issue is De'Aaron Fox isn't a great shooter either. He's improved, but he's not a great floor spacer. Stephon isn't a great floor spacer. So it's basically, I don't know if the fit will work right away. I don't know how patient the Spurs want to be with this. Like, I think that's a whole different discussion. And I've even had some of that discussion with my friends. I think you guys should be patient. Like, I don't think you guys should try to go all in for the next 2 years. Like, I think you should, you still have time, is what I'm getting. Like, your team is ridiculously young. But I mean, who knows what the Spurs are thinking. Just offensively, the concern will continue to be how much can they space the floor, and how much are you asking each of these guys to sacrifice? Because let's be honest, if De'Aaron Fox is on the team, he's getting the ball. Like, there's going to be a role for Dylan, but it's not going to be predominantly on ball. There's going to be a role for Stephon, but it's not going to be predominantly on ball. So then, if my concern is, if you're taking Dylan to not be predominantly on ball, maybe, just maybe, there's another player that fits that specific role better, even if they're not the better player. So that's kind of where my question is, or I guess, like, viewpoint is on how you guys want to shape this long term.
Go ahead. One follow up to that. Let's take out like morale and personality. Like, let's pretend like this is 2K. We can turn those settings off. Do you see a world where Dylan Harper would be very successful as a 6-man for us, coming off the bench, kind of replacing Chris Paul's role as the primary facilitator there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're giving him, let's say De'Aaron plays like 32, 33 minutes a game, you're giving Dylan the other 16 plus maybe 4 or 5 with Fox and him in the game on ball. You're giving him around 20 minutes a game with him on ball. I think he has a chance to win Rookie of the Year if that's the case. Like, you need to give him the ball. Like, what makes Dylan Harper the second best player in this draft is everything he does with the basketball in his hands. Like, I don't think people understand how garbage of a team he was on it was the most frustrating team I've ever seen play basketball. I think their coach needs to be fired into oblivion. I don't know what they're doing. But with that being said, that just like Dylan excelled with this. Like Ace was really good in this. Like it's just so to answer your question, can Dylan play a 6-man role if morale wasn't an issue? Yes. Like, yeah, it'd be great. Like, I think it would make the lineups fit better, especially if you pair him with Chris Paul a little bit and he helps ease some of the on-ball duties or helps him see things on the floor. Like, yes, there is a way for this to work. Now, will it work next year? Probably not. Like, realistically, for you guys to be as competitive as, perhaps you believe you can be. Like, I don't know if you guys will be in the top 4 in the West with that, but I do think there is. I'd rather that than him starting. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. I would rather, because if he starts, I mean, he can start, but you need to stagger his minutes. He needs the ball in his hands. You're not drafting this guy. If you're drafting just a shooter and you want him to play the 2, just take Trey Johnson. Like, because he's the best shooter in the draft class or damn near one of them. Like, just take Trey Johnson, but you're not drafting Dylan to be that, So it's a question about fit. And I imagine, like, obviously the Spurs name is getting thrown out in every single trade rumor. So like some of this plays into it. Like, it's ultimately just, what do you guys want to do as a franchise?
Yeah, just kind of some more on Dylan, man, because honestly, when we were kind of prepping, pre-lottery, we were looking at everybody kind of 8 through 15. So as much as we have watched Dylan, and we'll get into Ace and VJ, because I honestly, just with my own life schedule, I haven't really been able to get into them too much. I've seen a little bit of Ace, but not enough of VJ, for example. But to get back to Dylan, as you mentioned, obviously a lot of his positives, and that, like you said, the things that make him the second best player in this draft are the things he does with the ball in his hands. What are some of his strengths without the ball in his hands? And if, I don't know how long that list is.
He shot 50% on open threes. That's about as long as the list goes. He can cut. He can't. It's so difficult to give Dylan Harper an evaluation because
of the coach.
The team was so bad, guys. Like he had to be on ball for them to function. Like, I think they went under 500. The reason they were even sniffing 500 was because of him and Ace Bailey. And to be honest, more because of him than Ace Bailey. Like, this guy is, he is an elite ball handler. 87th percentile in pick and roll, including passing as a freshman. If you would have seen some of the players he had to pass the ball to, this 87th, if he was on a decent team, would be 95th percentile. Like, guys would refuse to shoot. He didn't have a single lob threat on the team. I think he can throw lobs. He maybe threw 3 of them, or to non-Ace Bailey people, like to non-Ace Bailey players. Probably threw 3 lobs in pick and roll. His passing doesn't seem as beautiful as, you get to like the Ryan Nemhards or like Cooper Flagg's passing is incredible. Con Nipples passing is incredible for their size. But look at the guys they played with. Like, that was an NBA roster Duke threw out there. And Rutgers is playing with like a D2 roster with 2 guys who just happen to be elite players. Like, it's a tough evaluation. Off ball, I really do think it comes down to, he has the frame to be able to cut well, and he does cut well. He finishes through contact really well. But just to really harp on this point, he shot almost 70% at the rim for a point guard. Whatever you want to, for a lead initiator, for a guy who's 6'6" on ball, he shot almost 70%, and 83% of his baskets at the rim were self-created. That's absurd numbers. Like, it's 68% alone is like, is damn near, like, I think like 94th%, like it's 90th percentile plus. Like, it's incredible for a guard, let alone almost, 17 out of every 20 shots at the rim he had to make for himself because nobody else can facilitate and help him get the ball. That's why I'm saying it's a big adjustment if you want him to be off ball. There's going to be some lumps. You ask me, I'm fine with taking the lumps now, but it really depends on where San Antonio wants to go, in my opinion, from an outsider perspective.
Outside of taking the ball out of his hands, what are some of the biggest negatives or concerns with Dylan Harper?
He lacks a mid-range game, which depends how you view it. Like, his floater game is not particularly good. He was really rough on floaters this year, so the touch from that area of the floor leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. The dribble jump shot is a little wonky. I think that his problem is going forward and getting on balance. When he does his step backs, the jumper looks so much better. But when he's coming off of screens, off a high pick and roll, don't expect him to shoot. He's looking to get to the rim, and to be honest, he gets there whenever he wants to. So like you're cool with that. Like some of these negatives are like, if the guy can't shoot mid-rangers, but he's living at the rim, that's fine with me. Like,
Right.
yes, please continue to do that. But definitely the touch is a big issue. I don't think his passing feel is good enough right now to be a lead one at all times and help you consistently win games as your only source of initiation or of creation. But that's just me being a little bit skeptical because of the players that I saw him play with. Like there were reads he made early in the season that towards the end of the season, he was like, I'm not passing you the ball, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. And it's not even, I mean, they weren't really good early in the season. And then once he played with the flu, like this guy was battling. He lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks or 12 pounds. I think it was reported in 10 days. Like he was going through sicknesses and still playing and still delivering and even coming off the bench in Rutgers. So like to your point about coming off the bench, he did it in college as one of the best freshmen in the country. So I don't think and by far the best player on his team. So like, the weaknesses really come down to that. I think defensively, this goes for both Rutgers guys. I guess we'll just like lump them in here real quick, but I don't know how much you want them to do defensively because they had to do everything on offense. Does he have flashes? Yes, he gets lanes. He's really smart. Off ball defensively, he's really strong. Like 6'6", 215 is really, really strong, especially for a guard. Is sometimes he a little lazy going around screens? Yes. Again, had the ball every possession in his hands. Like, be taken with a grain of salt. But I do think his positives far outweigh the negatives. So I do think if he is the pick, you guys should be ecstatic, at least for the player that you got, because I do think he has perennial all-star, all NBA potential without any doubt in my mind. He would have gone one last year. That's not really saying too much, but
yeah,
gotcha. I think he had an argument to go 2 the year Wemby came out. So
let me put it this way: Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper are in the same draft. Which one are you personally taking for the Spurs?
In this team right now, or like let's say last year?
Let's go last year. Dylan Harper.
Dylan Harper, 10 out of 10 times.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. And I love Stephon Castle. Stephon Castle was my number 1 player last year. I think he'd be number 7 or number 8 this year. And that's no shade to Stephon. I just think the class is that good.
And I know last year, the class was down as well. So when you factor that together, man. Oh man, there's so many things that I feel like we could touch on too, but I want to get to some of these other guys, especially with how you mentioned at the beginning that, in your view, it's not necessarily like tier A, tier B, and then everybody else. We'll start with his teammate, Ace Bailey. A lot of people have mentioned, that might potentially be a better fit for the Spurs just because, like you said, there's a lot of names in the guard room. I mean, there's even a potential, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's a potential that like Devin Vassell could come off the bench next year, with how kind of, you could say how many guards the Spurs have, especially if like a Chris Paul comes back. We'll have to see what happens with that. But what's your evaluation on Ace? Just overall, man, I really haven't had too much time to look into him.
I love Ace Bailey. Man, do I like Ace Bailey. I'll be very honest. When I started watching both of them, I liked Ace more than I liked Dylan. I think it's the tools. When the shot goes in, it's pretty. Like, I think he measured a little bit smaller than people, but he's 6'9", 205, 7-foot wingspan. I think he's a perfect fit for Wembanyama. Like, I really, really do. As a 3-4 next to him, whatever you want him to play, I think he can. The biggest takeaway with Ace Bailey is there's not a shot he can't make. like there, like I don't say that lightly. There is not a single shot on an NBA floor where Ace Bailey is not capable of making at a high clip. It's just the consistency of him getting to the spots and not settling for jumpers. Like when I say that, like he was 94th percentile in guarded shots, like contested guy in your face. And that's why like the comps to Kevin Durant get thrown out and stuff. Like I don't think he's going to be that. Like that's a guy. Yes, Kevin Durant is one of the best scorers of all time, but like Ace Bailey is an elite scorer. He does come with some downfalls. Not the best at getting to the rim, and that's kind of the biggest concern offensively. Is his rim pressure leaves, in my opinion, a little bit to be desired. He does settle for some of these tough shots, but sometimes it's like context is so important when you watch some of these college guys, because again, he's playing at Rutgers. You know, the spacing isn't the best. Not to say, can he get to the rim a little bit more with better spacing? Absolutely. I think everybody can, especially a guy with his tools. I think it would help him. With that being said, I don't know how long it'll take for you to coach out some of the tough midi stuff or some of the tough three stuff. Like his, you know, it's a mindset thing, but I do think he's toolsy enough, long enough, athletic enough, to be a wing in today's NBA. Like there's no question in my mind. The reason I liked him more than Dylan, ironically, is just because his athleticism is easier to notice on tape. Dylan's an athlete in a different way. He decels really well. He's a quick leaper. Ace is, you know, he doesn't decel that fast, but man, is he, like, you feel his presence defensively. He's a great weak side rim protector. He's going to give you immediate length. He can shoot the ball. At the beginning of the season, he was averaging like 0.7 assists and 1 turnover. And that's when I really started digging into the film, and I was watching the games and I'm like, he's averaging like 4 potential assists. His teammates just can't hit anything. Or he's hitting the roll man and the roll man can't catch the ball and it's going off his hands, going out of bounds. And Ace Bailey's like, all right, what am I supposed to do? I think he played the biggest takeaway from Ace Bailey is I don't know how good he can be as your third or fourth option. He has to get the jump shot to be an elite level. But the few games that he played without Dylan Harper, he averaged like 37 points a game in college. Like he put on an absolute spectacle of just shot making. And the comps that get thrown around for him are a little bit insane, but you can see it. Like 6'9", good. Like his handle is good enough. His shot making ability is good enough. His defense, when he's locked in on that end, he is a stopper. Like he can get stops. It's no question in my mind. It's just how much can he piece these things together without, like DeMar DeRozan's a good example. Like DeMar can get his, but ultimately just where he operates from isn't the best efficiency wise for your basketball team in order to win games consistently. It's how much can Ace Bailey, push back to the 3-point line, leave some of the in-between game stuff to only when it matters, or is it not going to matter? Can he just hit it at an insane enough clip that he can be efficient from there and help you win basketball games? I don't know. So, but I do love Ace Bailey. Like Ace is, to me, he's a sensational player. Like he should be. Any other year, I think he would be a number 2 pick, probably even a number 1. So,
I don't know how much you watch Spurs basketball games this year, Lou, but we never had a real power forward rotation. It's really Jeremy Sohan's our only true power forward. So fit wise with our current roster, if we were to draft Ace Bailey, do you see him playing immediately as that starting forward next to Victor, or maybe off the bench? No, starting.
He's a starter.
Okay.
He's a starter. He is absolutely 100% a starter. Originally, when I saw you guys had the second pick, if I'm being very honest, I was like, trade back. Trade back. You get you, like, whoever's trading up is taking Dylan. Trade back, get you more assets. Like, you guys traded out of the first round last year to get a pick in 2031 to help build your capital for when it's time. If you're picking at 2, you have to take Dylan. But if you don't think Charlotte or maybe Anybody, man. The Wizards, like, it doesn't matter. Insert a name. Somebody is in love with Dylan Harper out there, like, and rightfully so, rightfully so. And maybe he can excel over there better than he can with you guys, and maybe Ace Bailey works better with you guys than he does somewhere else, because he doesn't have the responsibility of creating his own shots. He can focus on defense. He has Wembanyama behind him. He has De'Aaron Fox creating gaps for him, drawing to his job is simplified, and maybe that's better for him. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that originally I was just like, if I'm the Spurs, I'm listening to offers. Like, I'm trading back because I have so many guys in the same tier. I don't mind taking a different guy and getting an extra 2 first-round picks. Like I know obviously it's a bit of a stretch, but when the Hawks traded back from 3 to 5 with Dallas, they moved back 2 spots and got an extra first-round pick and still took Trae Young. Like, there is possibilities for you guys to do this, is what I'm trying to get at. And I don't think Spurs fans should be upset if that was to happen, even though from all the reports, I think Dylan Harper is just going to be your pick, to be honest. Will he be playing for Milwaukee? I don't know, but
I was actually going to ask that. Sorry, Jude, to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I know you kind of already addressed it, but if it came down to trading back a pick and getting Ace Bailey, or trading the second overall pick to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo, which one would you do?
Man, okay. So this is the way I'll put it. If you have an opportunity to trade for Giannis, you trade for Giannis. Right? With that being said, I think you can be smart about this situation. And by that, I mean, like, everybody, the players that are always in this Giannis deal it's always a second pick or Stephon. Maybe in some cases people are saying both, right? I'm just saying, because I see a lot of the ways teams get cap strung and shit goes down the path. I would try everything in my power to keep that second pick when trading for Giannis. The reason I say that is, and that means the only untouchable for me on the roster if I'm the Spurs is Victor Wembanyama. That includes De'Aaron Fox. If he has to be in the deal, I would rather deal him and keep the second pick, even if it's Dylan, just because I know Dylan is going to be a cost-controlled asset for 4 years, and De'Aaron Fox is going to have to get paid Supermax money next year. It's not to say Dylan Harper is going to be De'Aaron Fox. I'm just saying, from the perspective of team building, you are much more flexible. You are much more flexible as a franchise if you have Giannis Antetokounmpo as your max and Wembanyama as your max, but yet you're keeping a Dylan Harper at like $10 million a year. You have 3 other rookies at around $5-6 million a year. You can add another piece then. But if you trade for Giannis and you're paying Giannis, Wemby, and De'Aaron Fox, that's your big 3. There is no adjustment. The adjustment has to come with moving one of those guys down the road. Like, it's just, I like for teams to stay flexible. That's something I would just consider. I don't know if that's absurd to you guys. I'm sorry if it is, but
no, I've never heard that before, but I actually really like it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and kind of the next question, man, there's my brain's going like a million different directions with this, because I want to get like your opinion on, just modern building teams, right? Like making these big trades versus like what OKC is doing, and who's their general manager, an old friend of ours who started off as a 22-year-old intern, Sam Presti. And so definitely when you talk about like, being able to keep, some of these guys and not, as much as, having the opportunity to trade for Giannis, you don't want to deny that. I mean, he's a 2-time MVP. Him and Wemby together would just be ridiculous in so many different ways. But with that being said, is that going to cost you, too much down the line, I guess, is the question that I would ask. And also with what you were saying there, man, of keeping the number 2 pick, me and Ethan have had discussions and we're kind of like, this is so far out, we don't even want to think about this. But we were thinking down the line of just, even if we don't trade the pick, say we stick it 2 and draft Dylan Harper, with Wemby's contract probably going to be the biggest of all time. That's how we're, expecting it to be. And then there's other guys that we've got to pay as well. Maybe we're not going to be able to afford De'Aaron Fox long term. and I didn't even realize, to be honest, and this is kind of just exposing some of my ignorance here, to be real. I didn't even realize next year is when the Supermax was going to be with De'Aaron. I just, in my head, I thought it was maybe a little bit more time, and obviously that's on me there. But again, to get to the bigger point I was getting at there, Dylan Harper, if you're not able to afford De'Aaron Fox, he could step into being that primary ball handler role. What you got here?
No, I was like, that's a great backup fucking plan. Like, I'll be goddamn honest. Like, if you mean it's like, I do think the way OKC is building a roster is the most perfect way you can build an NBA roster. It's the most sustainable way. I don't care when they have to pay their guys. Like, they can pick and choose who they want to pay because they have so many picks. They have so much flexibility. And everybody's been asking them to, when are they going to make the move for the star? When are they going to make the move for the star? They're 3 games from an NBA Finals. They haven't made a move for a star. You know what they made a move for? Alex Caruso. You don't need stars in today's NBA. You need them, obviously, but it can't just be stars. Like, that's not the way it works anymore. It's you need guys who know how to fit together and can play together. That's ultimately what you need. And you need them to be cost controlled. Or if not, you see your window closes like this. Boston's window is done. They're going to be a repeater tax team. They're going to have to pay like $400 million in luxury tax next year unless they make trades. That's it. That team's window with that core is done. Like, it's over. It closes like this, especially when everything you do is trade for people and then pay them. It's not sustainable. Trust me, I'm a fan of the Miami Heat. We do not know how to build a sustainable team anymore. You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible. I love the way the Pacers are doing it. It's not to say you can't trade for guys, but you can't. I don't think you should be trading everything for a guy. Like, no matter who that guy is, unless that guy is 25 years old, like if it was, I don't know, Luka, yeah, you trade just about everything you can for Luka if you think that he's your franchise guy. If it's Jokic, like, that's not even a discussion. But even like Giannis, I love Giannis. I think he's a top 3 player in the league right now. He's going to be 31. So you're putting a cap on your, like you're trying to win now is what you're telling me. And if you're trying to win now and you have all these rookies, maybe somebody's like, look, that's not going to work. So start shedding them off, and then you're building a team around them. Maybe it works, but if it doesn't, yikes, hold on tight, man.
100.
That's my view on like team building. I think going all in is the most dumb thing any franchise can do. Look at the Suns. Just look at them. They're a laughing stock of the whole league. They should be.
And you can go back to even the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Nets, dude, back in the day for that. Anyways, I don't mean to steal your thunder here, Ethan, but to get back to the draft a little bit, I wanted to touch on the trades again. So when you were talking about, obviously, Dylan Harper, he's going to be at 2. Whoever that's probably, if we're not going to pick somebody, or if we're not going to pick Dylan Harper, excuse me, then we should call up somebody who's willing to give us more assets and get more out of it to trade back. So I guess, man, I know I just kind of said that's what we probably should do in that scenario, but to ask you the question, just if we like Ace Bailey's fit, or we like VJ Edgecombe's fit, or we like Kaman Malwatch, a little bit more, we want to I've even entertained that in my head a little bit, just because of how desperately the Spurs need a backup center and just also need a post to just help Wemby out a little bit, even if long-term, Wemby moves to the 4. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that for the sake of conversation. Just what are, like I said, I know you kind of already touched on it and kind of said that's what you want to do, but what are your thoughts on kind of how the Spurs should handle that if they did want to trade back?
I think they should. I think you'll get a haul for the second pick. And I don't think the drop off, like when you guys were at 8, my perfect scenario for you guys at 8 was Con. Like, if you guys got Con or Trey, I would have been ecstatic. Like, I love Con. I think he's going to be great. So if you're trading back, and depending on how far you trade back, you can still get. I think if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, I'm looking at 3 guys in this draft class that I need to leave with, and I would be ecstatic about. Like, 3 guys are like at the top of, obviously, Cooper, but that doesn't count. But aside from him, I think in terms of fit wise and what it could be down the road, I think, and in no order, because I probably have Kaman Malwalk honestly at 1. It would be him, it'd be Bailey, and it would be Con. Those would be the 3 guys I would want. I think all 3 of those guys can help you. And obviously, depending on how far you trade back, what you can get, like the return matters a lot more than just getting the player is my point. But I do think there's an argument to be made if you get a serviceable player and a couple picks or maybe a pick and a swap, can you trade back from 2 to 5 and get Kaman? I think that's a possibility. And get Ace or get Khan. Like Khan's probably the bottom at that tier, but still, like I'd be super happy if that was the case. But it would require a lot, and it's very forward thinking to see if like somebody would even offer that is another question. But it's just the way my brain is trying to go about these things.
One more here, Ethan, and then I'll give you the next one. What do you think, Lou, if you're Brian Wright, you're the Spurs general manager, you're making the decisions here. Do you think the Spurs at this point in the rebuild, should they still value best player available or fit more in this draft?
If I'm Brian Wright, I think I'm taking best player available. I don't care about fit right now because I don't think the team is constructed in a way where they're competing in a year. Like they're competing next year is my point. Can they make the playoffs? Yes. Can they give somebody a scare? Yes, absolutely. But if you hit, you don't want to pass up on just what could be an all-star for like a great role player. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just gives you so much more flexibility if you happen to draft the guy than if you happen to draft just a great role player. So I think I'm just taking BPA, which is why I would still take Harper at 2, even if I don't think he is the best fit right now for the Spurs. But if he hits, then you save yourself money with De'Aaron Fox. Like, if he hits and it works with De'Aaron Fox, then you're even more set up. Like the fit didn't matter. You have 2 of the best guys putting pressure on the rim in basketball, if that's the case. Like, so I do think you take just best player available. I think if you're drafting 8, then we can have a conversation for fit. At 14, you should 100% have a conversation for fit. At 39, you should 100% have a conversation for fit. But like at 2, you take the guy, man. You figure it out later. Like, you take the best player. Like,
right.
The Sixers took Jaleel, and then they took Nerlens. Like they took Nerlens, Jaleel, and Embiid back to back to back. Do you think they're upset that they took Embiid and he was their third set? Like the third set? No, it doesn't matter. Because do you think anybody's going to talk about, oh man, that Jaleel Okafor guy was a bust? Yes, they will, but does it matter as much if you took Joel Embiid? No, it doesn't matter. Like, so you take the best guy and you live with it. Like, at the time, you take whoever you think is the best player, and you live with it.
Yeah, we don't want another James Wiseman on our hands, Jude, in San Antonio. That would be a absolute nightmare. But I don't actually have any more questions on the second overall pick, Jude. Do you have anything, or do you want to move on to the next one?
I did want to ask him about VJ.
Okay.
Just VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. Because, if we're talking about somebody off the ball as well, you know what I mean? Say we do want to keep De'Aaron Fox long-term, and there's things to fall in love with VJ, maybe he could fit into that 2 spot, and it could be, De'Aaron Fox, VJ, and then Castle kind of in that same mold where we saw, Dylan Harper. So I have watched less VJ Edgecombe than I have Ace Bailey. So Lou, the floor is yours.
VJ Edgecombe is... Everybody says that he's really, they love to say athletic, but the jumper is a little wonky. I don't think he has a jumper issue. I think his jumper is fine. Like, is he a great pull-up shooter right now? No, but I think his catch and shoot stuff is really good. I mean, I'm pretty sure, he shot like 36% on catch and shoot. I think his biggest issue is his ball handling isn't as great, and I don't think he has good touch around the rim. His layups, like he shot 54% at the rim, which is really bad. But he is an athlete who's still figuring out how to play basketball. The good thing about him is typically those athletes who are figuring out how to play basketball, A, don't understand defensive rotations, and B, do not, for whatever reason, have a jump shot. And he has a jump shot, and he understands defensive rotations. So if VJ Edgecombe can come into a situation and be a guy who His role is to be an energy guy. His role is to play defense at a high level, to run the floor, and to shoot, catch, and shoot threes and attack closeouts. Oh my goodness, he's gonna be incredible. Like that's what he should be doing. If you're asking him to be on ball, and like much like you asked about Dylan maybe coming off the bench and getting some more on ball duties, I don't think VJ should be getting on ball duties whatsoever. Like I don't think that's his skill set. One of the reasons I was low on him when I started watching him is because they kept putting him on ball and like the offense didn't know what to do. And he was on a good team. Like Baylor had talent. It was just he's not there yet. But during the course, one of the things I really liked about VJ is during the course of the entire season, he started figuring out that just because you're on ball doesn't mean you have to over dribble to get to your spots. He started learning that less is more. And I mean, who better to know than me when I say less is more? Like we had Jimmy Butler for 5 years and he did not do a single crossover. Everything was simple, but he got to his spots. And VJ started implementing most of that during the second half of the season. And realistically, just being a menace, putting pressure on the rim. His first step is legitimately insane. His burst is insane. His power to jump is ridiculous. Some of the defensive highlights that he can make, the ground that he can cover. He looks like a power forward contesting at the weak side. Like it's ridiculous how in tune he is defensively. And offensively, he just, the game is a little bit too fast for him in terms of playmaking and feel, but he's just such an athlete that there is a role for him somewhere. Like I love the men coming out, and it's not to compare him because I think a men is just better of an athlete, which is crazy to say because VJ is insane, but a men had feel, VJ doesn't have that much feel. So that's kind of the concern with him offensively is he's not per se going to be a bad offensive player, but he might not be a positive, especially if the jumper takes a step back.
Do you have a floor and ceiling comparison for him?
Oof. Comparisons are always hard, but I think the ceiling comparison is, I mean, everybody says it. I don't think they're entirely too wrong, but I think Oladipo is a pretty good comparison in terms of ceiling. The floor could be just somebody who literally does not find a pathway to consistent starting minutes. Like he could just be a bench guy for his whole career. I don't think that's likely, to be very honest. I think he's closer to being a very good starter. Like, he's top 5 on my board. So it's not like I'm trash, but we have to be realistic with some of these floors. Not every top 5 pick works. So it's
for sure.
It's sad, but I mean, yeah, he could be just somebody who struggles to find maybe the jumper at the next level. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because if anybody can tell you when the games mattered for Baylor, when it was crunch time in the second half of games, he took over and he did not let that team go without a fight. Like that's probably the biggest selling point on VJ Edgecombe is he is going to work his ass off. Like he is. Like when the competition is at its best, that's when he's at his best. We saw it in the tournament. We saw it in the conference tournament. Whenever they played a ranked team, he was cooking Arizona. Obviously in the Olympics with the Bahamas, looked really good there too. Just somebody who steps up when when it matters. VJ Edgecombe will step up. That's why I don't think he's ever going to really bottom out of the league. So I do think it's just how high can his ceiling go. It depends on his ball handling and just maybe even like his free throw rate and stuff of that nature.
Last one here before we get to 14. How would you envision VJ's potential fit on the Spurs?
Oh, I'd love it, man. I love VJ's fit. Again, you guys have so many like VJ on the Spurs. Stephon can still get some on ball reps. You got Chris Paul. You got De'Aaron Fox. You got Wemby who can pass out of the high post. If you're just telling VJ Edgecombe and Stephon Castle go rogue on defense, Wemby's behind you. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing to watch. Like truly, it will be defensively. It will be a pleasure to watch. And then you add that to the fact that him and De'Aaron Fox can be running on fast breaks together. Like my goodness, watch out! Like it's gonna be a Bleacher Report is gonna be blowing up everybody's phone like once a week on a VJ Edgecombe poster dunk or lob or just ridiculous play, chase down block, just because he is a highlight reel in that sense. And he fits with you guys because you guys need wings. I know he's a little, I think he measured at like 6'5", have 6'5", like 195-ish. That's not really a small forward, but and I don't think he should be a small forward, but his athleticism allows him to look so much bigger on the floor when he plays that he doesn't feel 6'5", 195. Like Tyler Hero's 6'5", 195. He doesn't do a lick for us on defense. Like this guy feels like 6'7", 210 because he covers so much ground. But I love VJ. I mean, I think you guys aren't going to, like, you guys should be happy with literally just about whoever you pick, unless it's an Anthony Bennett situation.
All righty, Ethan, I'll let you dive into the 14th here.
Yeah, there's a lot of names at 14 that we've actually had an opportunity to look at and discuss, because this one was pretty consistent in terms of the mock drafts. But let's put yourself in the Spurs shoes. I'll just ask an open question. Who do you like best at that slot?
So 14 is a tricky spot because I do think, like I said, I think there's about 8 guys who I really, really, really just think are great in this draft. And then there's a couple of guys where fit really matters. Like I really like Jace Richardson. He might be my best player available, but if you're taking a guard there and you're not going to, you took a guard last year, you're taking a guard there, you traded for a guard, that's too much. So I think personally, what I would do is I would target a big wing. There's 2 particular names I have in mind. One of them I know you guys touched on. It's Carter Bryant. I love Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant is one of my biggest draft crushes this entire year too.
Okay.
So it's funny because when I started watching, like just in general, Tankathon had him at like 40. Like I couldn't even find this guy, but I'm watching him against Duke. I'm watching him against Cooper Flagg in particular. And Cooper Flagg is scoring some of these points and he's getting some stops. Like they're going at it. And I'm like, as soon as he came off the bench, like Arizona was down like to 8. He came in, completely flipped the game just off of energy and defense alone. I was like, who is this guy? Why, never seen him before. I didn't know he was a freshman. I start watching some more. Again, I'm not even watching him yet because I start at the top and then I go through all the names until I get to, but I'm watching games versus Arizona. And every time I watch a game versus Arizona, he pops off the screen. And it's not in the ways, like, I think if you look at his stats, he averaged like 6 points and 5 rebounds. You're like,
right.
Why is this guy getting lottery conversations? I'll tell you why. He's a freaking beast. Like he is an animal. The way he moves on the floor is truly, truly menacing. 6'8", 215, 7-foot wingspan. Sign me up. Fluid as all can be as an athlete. Like legitimately, I think he guards 2 to 4s right now. He can potentially guard some 1s, potentially guard some 5s. Like he's a switch guy. Like you're going to switch him and you're going to be comfortable with whatever he does. He's a freshman. He played at Arizona as a freshman. Again, that means like Arizona is typically a winning program. They had like 17 seniors on their team, and he was a 5-star freshman who came in and got minutes off the bench. In a crowded room. They played him at the 4 most of the time, sometimes at the 3. One of my favorite things about him is his ability to diagnose offensive sets and just how easy it comes to him to get in lanes, to be the weak side rim protector. He had a game versus Arizona State where he had like 4 steals and 3 blocks. My goodness, he was everywhere. He is everywhere. And athletically, it showed out. Like it tested the same. He had almost a 40-inch vertical at 6'8". Like an impressive athlete. And again, another thing with him is the jumper doesn't look broken. Like it legitimately doesn't. Shot 37% on the season, 36% on catch and shoots. Noticed how those numbers are a little different. That means his pull-up jump shooting was actually better than his catch and shoot. Like, and that's and again, it's not something he utilized a lot, but for somebody whose usage rate at Arizona was so low because the team that he was on had Caleb Love like 6th-year super senior. It felt
Right.
like, I don't know how many years he's played at college.
So many different teams.
Yeah, exactly. They had Lewis, KJ Lewis. They had Bradley. I think his name is Bradley, number 0. They had 3 guys who predominantly took care of the ball, and then their center was Vasar, who was basically a point center for them too, like operating out of the high post. He was just a play finisher. That's all he did. That's all he did his entire rookie year or freshman season. Sorry, and he was good at it. Like, he earned himself minutes when the games mattered. He showed up. He was always being tasked to guard whoever. Like, that guy's going off. Carter, that's your guy. And not as a freshman on a program with three like Caleb Love, all the 3 guards that I named are all defensive minded aside from Caleb, but Caleb is a super senior. Like, he's 25. Like, and they're telling the 19-year-old, suit up, that's your guy. Like, when they played Baylor, he was the guy guarding VJ. And he was the one who was able to get some stops on VJ because nobody else could. And it's very telling to me just how easily he maneuvers on the floor, how much he impacts the game without needing the ball in his hands. And this just goes to the point. If you draft somebody like Dylan Harper and you draft another on-ball guy, you need guys who can impact without taking those touches away from guys who need him. And he's somebody that's literally everything he did at Arizona. Can he come off the bench next year and give you guys minutes? Absolutely he could, especially if you take Dylan. He's the 3-4 combo you're looking for in terms of frame, athleticism, defensive ability next to Vic. And the jumper looks like it could work. Like, is he gonna, the concerns are his self-creation. He had 0 isolations all year. Like, they did not give him the ball. Very few. I think he had like 6 pick and rolls as a ball handler. Like, this is not his. This is something that's completely untapped. But in my opinion, if you're drafting at 14, I think it's okay for you to take a chance on that, because the other areas that we did see, he did so well, and those are areas that you need. Like, we just saw, like, Aaron Nesmith is a name. He legitimately just came into the league as a defender. The 3-point shot developed. Now look at him.
Can we pause and just say last night's game was just
insane.
Like one of the most insane playoff games I've ever watched in my life. You brought up your Aaron Nesmith. I just had to.
No, man, absolutely. And again, it's not to say like Carter Bryant can be him or is him, but whatever. Like, that's just, Aaron Nesmith got drafted because he was a specialist at certain things, but he got drafted as an older prospect. I just like that Carter Bryant really, really can do some of these things really, really well. And just, he finds a way to make winning plays, whether that's diving for the loose ball, being on help in the rotations. Yes, he still has some things to learn. I do think he's a really good connective passer. Like, off the dribble and stuff, can he pass a little bit? But again, it's so in the air that I do think he's a guy that in workouts has a real chance. When I started watching him again, he was like early second rounder. And then as the season went on, he started climbing. And now he's up here at 14. And I've seen teams talk about him at 8. Whoever's taking 8 now. Like, I think it's the Nets. I even saw like a bunch of Nets fans clamoring for him at 8. So it's just, he's a guy who can really, really help himself during some of these workouts, like the private workouts, because they're going to put the ball in his hands. And if he can produce there, then yeah, he might be a steal at 14. Like, long term is what I'm getting.
Yeah, who is your other name there? I know you said you had 2 guys.
The other name is basically like a Carter Bryant, but like a little bit older. It's Rasheer Fleming. They're not at all the same player, but Rasheer is about 6'10", 235, 7.5 or 7'5", I think was a wingspan. But he's a really, really, really fluid mover. Amongst the best in the whole class for power forwards at agility testing, shuttle time, like really moves laterally really, really well. And he wears 13. Like, the way he moves laterally and the ease of his body movements from side to side do give off a little bit of Bam. And in that sense, he's nowhere near Bam's defensive instincts or any of that, but just maybe it was the 13, maybe it was the way he was, but it looked a lot similar. He's very switchable. The good thing, he's 21, so he's a little bit older, but not not he's not a 23-year-old at 14, which is a little bit of a worry. But he shot 39% on like catch and shoot threes, had an insane average, like 17 and 10 with 2 blocks, 2 steals, 2 assists, like less than 2 turnovers. Like he was literally St. Joseph's offense and their defense for the majority of the year. And he was really, really like he's a great play finisher. His jumper is NBA ready. His frame is NBA like 6'10", 235 is an NBA ready frame if I've ever seen one. Like, and when you see him, his body composition doesn't like he's strong. He legitimately was switching again just about every screen over there. They used him mostly as a 4, but he played some 5, so maybe that fits with Wemby in terms of what the Spurs want to do, and he can provide the spacing that De'Aaron Fox would need right away. Energy guy, literally every 50-50 with him is a 70-30 in his favor. Like so many offensive rebounds, doing everything, really good screener as well. And just, I do think that's kind of where I would lean is probably Rasheer Fleming. He does have some weaknesses in terms of like, he's not the best at putting the ball on the floor and self-creation. But again, you're picking at, 14 here. These guys, Cooper Flagg has weaknesses like everybody does. So it's just how much can you minimize those? And with all the ball handlers, I do think there's a possibility that he could work really, really well with you guys. I don't know. Have you guys heard of him?
No, yeah, we've watched him. Well, we've kind of heard him in the comments, and I definitely knew he was like a modern 4 who could shoot off the ball. But a lot of stuff that you just touched on there, I wasn't necessarily familiar with. But again, we touched on Carter Bryant, Trey Johnson, Kasparis Yakichonis. There's some other guys I'm forgetting, but we didn't do a prospect breakdown on Rasheer specifically. So you definitely, named some things there. But there was something interesting that you mentioned there. I think you said you would lean Rasheer. Was that like in comparison to Carter Bryant?
I think he's better right now. I think he is better right now. I think he's more polished. The volume at which he shot threes in college was very, very high. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do know he took over 163 pointers, I think, this year in like 30 games. So he was a high volume 3-point shooter for them, pick and pop, spot up. Basically, as long as it wasn't off the dribble, he was letting it fly, and it looks good. Like the jumper looks good. So if you are trying to build a win now team, I do think he's a safer pick because we've seen his role a little bit more, and you kind of just know what you're getting. But I do think Carter has a little bit more upside, 2 years younger. I think Carter is a better defender than Fleming. That's not to say Fleming is bad. I just think he has some issues, and particularly like closing out and keeping his feet. Some like minor tweaks and stuff, but he got away with it because his agility was so good. But I mean, if his problem is he closes out too hard and he funnels them to Vic, like that's a good problem to have, I guess. I'd rather that than him just not be able to keep anybody in front of him. But on ball, he's actually really stout defensively.
Yeah. So if you're Brian Wright, can I guess here, Lou? I'm going to guess your opinion. If you're Brian Wright, are you taking Carter Bryant over Rasheer Fleming? At 14.
Am I keeping the pick? Like, am I keeping the guy?
Under the scenario, because probably, if I'm being honest, if I had to guess, we'll probably trade this because that's just what we've been doing. But I mean, maybe we'll keep it just because of the draft. But if we're keeping it, they're both on the board. You're Brian Wright. Who are you going with?
Okay, if I'm Brian Wright, that means I probably took Dylan Harper at 2. I'm taking Fleming. Taking Fleming. The reason I'm taking Fleming is I took the upside swing at 2 in terms of like wonky fit. If I'm getting Harper, who's not the best shooter, and I'm pairing him with Fox and Castle, I want Fleming, who I know, like, who all the signs point to the shooting is going to translate at the next level. So I would rather take that because he is a more high volume shooter. And that's just kind of where I'd lean. But I don't think you can go, like, I wouldn't be upset if either one of them was a pick.
You said he's more NBA ready. Do you think he's ready to start next to Victor immediately at that pick?
Who'd you guys start there? You said Sohan. I mean, did you guys start Harrison Barnes last year?
We did, yeah.
Lou, both of
Mhm.
those guys, basically.
Okay. Both you played them both together. Can he start? Yes, I think he can start. I don't know how many minutes you'd probably be giving him right off the bat, but I do think he could find his way into starter minutes without an issue. He's 21, so it's not like he's new to this, or like, like he's still figuring things out. Like, yeah, he is, everybody is, but he's more sure of himself. The way he plays lends itself more to being an immediate impact player. If you were taking Carter Bryant, I don't think Carter Bryant should be starting for you next year. I think he should be a pure off the bench piece with upside and like room to grow down the line. But I think Fleming has starter upside for next year.
We're kind of getting to the end here, but I do still have a couple questions. And again, Lou, thank you so much for coming on and giving us all this information, man. We're probably going to talk at least post draft or something, because it's just awesome every time we have you on, man. So I just want to say that. But from a Spurs perspective, well, and maybe me and Ethan, maybe there's some other Spurs fans out there who wouldn't feel exactly the same as me and Ethan. But I think looking at our comments and some of the things we get in the lives, I think there's definitely a lot of Spurs fans out there who are just like, please, for the love of anything that is good and holy, can we get a backup center? And that is kind of, where me and Ethan were looking a lot at this 14th pick. Now, again, let me pull up this little graphic here. Here you go, Lou. So this bottom set here that you see,
Yikes.
that kind of shows who is on the roster next season. So while we do need a backup center, we also need another 4. So I'm not mad at Rasheer Fleming or Carter Bryant whatsoever either. And because we have Victor, there is free agency. We're an attractive place. There's got to be somebody out there that we can get. But what are your thoughts on kind of just seeing that graphic and just our front court kind of in general?
Yeah, I mean, you guys need a 4 or 5. Like, you guys need somebody else. I mean, I said it last year. I'm pretty sure I came on the show and said I don't think you can go into the season expecting Zach Collins to be the answer next to Victor. And
you called that too.
You're right. Yeah.
Shocker. Zach Collins isn't the answer next to anybody. But
Myers Leonard. Sorry.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I don't hate that one. But I mean, in terms of like the pick at 14, we'll see, because originally this guy was somebody that I'm pretty sure, I just have a feeling like Spurs fans would like, Danny Wolf, right?
You already okay. So let me interrupt you, Lou, because my follow-up, but my last question that I was going to ask is I was going to give Ethan a layup for his 2 favorite centers in this draft.
Who's the other one?
Take a guess. He's a second round guy. I want you to guess, Lou.
Reynaud?
Oh, no.
Second, Kalkbrenner?
Yeah, Kalkbrenner, baby.
Ethan has loved Danny Wolf and Kalkbrenner, but definitely, like, I like both of those guys, but I've definitely been on the Danny Wolf train as well. I know we could probably, or it seems like at least we could probably get him in the 20s. But anyways, I don't mean to interrupt too much. Those are 2 names we've been thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, at 14, I think Danny Wolf is too high. I like him. I just don't think he does anything great at a 5-man. Like, he does a lot of things really solidly. Like, from the way he plays, the guy that he reminds me of the most is like Kelly Olynyk. He was basically like their primary ball handler, which is impressive at 7 feet. But I don't know if that's what you guys need. Like, his catch and shoot leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. He shot 34%, which is not too bad, but he shot sub 60% at the line. Like, he's not a good free throw shooter. That's my biggest concern. I would rather, if I'm the Spurs and I'm picking at 14, the center that would call my attention the most at that pick is probably Thomas Sorber. His medicals have to clear. That's my concern. Apparently he got flagged. I know he missed some of the season for a foot injury, but he's the guy that I would be targeting at a center spot at 14. It would be him, and honestly, it would just be him. Like, I'm not even. Maybe
I was thinking maybe if Derek Queen fell, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think Derek Queen's falling, but I like Asa Newell, but I don't think he's a center either. I think he's like a 4.
Yeah.
As a center, I think it's for me, it's just Thomas Sorber. I do think there's some guys at 30. I think you guys are 38, 39, 39. Yeah, at 39, there's a couple of guys that I do think you guys will probably be happy, or you guys should be happy with. But at 14, I think the options there, in my opinion, make me feel like I would be leaning a lot more towards big wing or just wing in general than a center. Because again, Fleming can play some 5. He's 6'10.
Yeah.
You know, 6'10 with a 7'5" foot wingspan, like 9'1" reach, like 235. Like that's a solid center.
6'10",
Yeah. That's a decent center. Teams are playing with less out there now. So, but Sorber's probably the guy. I don't mind Danny Wolf. I just don't think that he fits the Spurs. Even though I do think he's a better defender than he gets credit for. Like I don't know if you've seen a picture of him. He does not look like he should belong playing basketball, but the guy can move his feet. I give it to him.
Alrighty, well, I gotta ask you about Kalkbrenner too. We drafted him in like every mock draft, but I'll group this as another question. We'll ask about Kalkbrenner, but just who are some guys? I know you mentioned Maxime from Stanford as well. Who are some guys, not just necessarily center, but at 39 that you think would be good fits for the Spurs?
So at 39, I have one guy who I think every basketball team should be in love with in the second round. One of my biggest guys last year, or just a guy that I kept going back to and saying like, damn, like this guy is just good, man. Like I don't know how, or I don't know which way, but he's going to make it work, was AJ Mitchell. And he ended up getting a 2-way, and then they converted him because they're like, this guy's better than some of the guys we have on the roster. And for me, that guy is Zion James. And if you've watched Con, you know who Zion James is. He's, I think he wore 14 at Duke. I suck with numbers, but he was basically their 5th starter. Like everybody knew the other 4 starters were Kaman, Con, Cooper, obviously, Tyrese Proctor, and then it was him. And when you talk about a guy who literally will do whatever it takes to win them a basketball game, that was what he did. Like he came from Tulane where he was the guy and he was doing everything for the team to being like, okay, so how do I have to fit in this game? All right, perfect. I need to play defense, extra, just shoot when I'm open, second chance, keep the ball moving, set screens. Perfect. Cooper Flag goes down. Oh, you guys need me to score now? Perfect. I could do that. Con goes down. You guys need me to score now? Perfect. Tyrese Proctor's not in there. Oh, I need to play make. That's fine too. Malawak is in foul trouble. We don't have a second center right now because their other center is hurt with the shoulder injury. I can't remember his name. All right, I'll crash in and get boards. You guys need me to draw a charge? I'll draw a charge. Like whatever you need, if it impacts winning, Zion James will do for you. Now he is 6'6", and I think that's like kind of like the biggest. Like you'd like for him to be bigger because maybe you guys in specific are looking for somebody bigger, but he's 220. Like it's not like he's a small 6'6" either. Like he is stocky, and he reminds me a lot of what Andrew Nembhard does for the Pacers, like just to keep it into like in terms of like the playoff teams. He reminds me a lot of what Derek White used to do at Colorado. Like I'll be very honest.
We love that.
Yeah, in different ways, obviously, but like similar players. I think Nick Clifford is somebody who's getting a bunch of first round buzz, and I really, really like Nick Clifford, as my dog agrees with me here. But I think Zion James is kind of the same thing, just he's playing at a big program in like a 5th option role. Like, so I am a huge fan of him. But if we have to talk bigs, I want to say his name, but I'm gonna mess this up. His name is Yannick Conan Niederhauser. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's German.
I like him.
He's a German center. He's they listed him at like he's 7'1", 243 pounds. He tested the best in the combine, like 37-inch vert, best shuttle time, 9'3" standing reach, and he looked just as good in all the combine scrimmages. An absolute menace. I did not know who this guy was. I had to go back and watch film because I was like, who is 19, bro? Like insane. And they had him listed at that point in time. He was listed in the 70s. And now he was at 32, I think, on ESPN's latest board. Like that was just how good he was in that setting. Like with better players around him, he looked that good. And I think that's what you guys want. Like, I don't think a center needs to be somebody who does too much. If he can set screens, he can get you extra second chance points, and he can catch a lob. And he's 7 feet. Like, just sign me up. If the Heat were looking for, if we had a second round pick, I'd be all over this guy for the pick. But sorry, he's not from Germany. He's from Switzerland. I apologize, Mr. Niederhauser.
I don't want him anymore. I'm all out.
Oh my goodness, it's funny too because in one of our last episodes, didn't we have somebody in here from? No, that was Sweden, not Switzerland. I'm getting those confused, but there you go. That's definitely a name for us to look at in the second round. I will just ask you for maybe just some quick hitters, just because we have heard a lot about these guys. One on Kalkbrenner, just for Ethan, but two, we've gotten a lot of Maxime Reynaud comments as well, probably because of the French connection.
So I'll start with Kalkbrenner. I mean, Kalkbrenner as a second round center, like, you could do so much worse. He's a really, really good screen setter. His intangibles are really, really high just in general. Not somebody who particularly fouls too much. Again, not the most athletic of guys, but he does move his feet well enough, and he positions himself well enough to show, where it's not uncomfortable either. And I mean, the biggest thing I think this year, he shot like 61 3-pointers this year, which is the most he had ever shot in his career. And he, the touch isn't horrible, but ultimately he's just going to be somebody who's not going to get too much in your way. I do think you could just do a little bit better, because I like for my centers to be a little bit more athletic. I think they need to cover up holes. Like, that should be your best defender, should be your big man. So that's where, like, he's a lot more ready now than Yannick is, for sure. But I'd rather take a swing at 39, especially if, like, you're coming away with Fleming at 14 or somebody who's more ready now. And for Reynaud, dude, man, Reynaud did not belong at the combine. I don't know who invited him to bully those little kids. It felt like he was legitimately the best player on the floor while he was out there. It was really, really impressive. The jump shot might not be great, but it's a threat. The touch is real. His feel for the game is really, 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 really good. And I think if there wasn't a player in college this year named Cooper Flagg, he would have gave him a run for his money in terms of ACC Player of the Year. So I'm a really big fan of Reynaud. Before the combine, maybe you could have told me he would have made it to 39. I think now there's no way in hell he's even close to that. Like, I think he's coming off. I think he might come off before the Heat pick at 20.
Wow. Okay.
So I think he's somebody who he made himself a lot of money, in my opinion. So if you guys want Reynaud, it has to be with 14. Like, it should not be with 20. But he's, just to add on him, like, he's 7'2", so he does have size, but he doesn't move like a 7'2" guy. He's not clunky in the way he steps. He's very fluid. Things come easy to him. He's very smooth. It's just he has concerns defensively, not the best. He plays kind of a finesse game for a 5. So, sometimes that goes better for like 4s, but again, you have a versatile weapon in Vic next to him anyways. But if your goal is to save Vic, like, very much like OKC did with Chet Holmgren, getting him Isaiah Hartenstein, like, I think, Kalkbrenner is a good option if that's the case. I think Sorber is probably your best option. He's like 265. The guy's a tank. Baldwalk is somebody I'd obviously love, but that it would require some maneuvering. And Niederhauser. I'm just gonna call him that. He was like 240, but I'm not opposed to Maxime. I just wouldn't like him for you guys at 14, and I think that's kind of where, if you want him, that's kind of where you're gonna have to take him.
Any final thoughts here, Ethan?
It hurts my heart to hear that about Kalkbrenner, but I will say, looking at pictures of this Yannick Niederhauser guy, I might be swayed. And I haven't even watched any tape, but just by looking at him, I can see that he's the real deal, and I wouldn't mind taking him.
Yeah, he's incredible. Like, he was out rebounding, out hustling everybody. The reach was impressive. I had never seen this guy. Like, who watches Penn State if it's not for football, right? And this guy was just like, at the comment, he made me go back and watch film. And it was like, yeah, like, maybe it's not as consistent as you want it to be, but that's where the second round is. Like, if this guy had put together that film tape that he did at the combine, but earlier, he'd be a first round pick. And another thing is, you take guys who perform well at the combine. Like, this isn't some fucking miracle anymore. Like, Josh Hart killed the combine. Been a pretty fucking good player, if you ask me.
Right.
Andrew Nemhard, first round pick, been a pretty freaking good player, if you ask me. Like, guys who perform well at this stage, think about it. They don't have time to install plays. They don't have time to, it's go out there and how can you impact the game? And if he's doing this with guys he just met, like, yeah, give him some time. Like, take a chance on this kid. AJ Mitchell last year, he was my biggest draft riser last year. Take a chance. OKC got him at 35. I was livid. I thought he would have made it 40 at that point. But, like, you take a chance on guys who just look better than everybody else, because they probably are, guys. Like, it's, it's just, can you hoop and how can you affect winning? And he did. Young Niederhauser.
I love it, man. Lou, thank you so much, man. Again, y'all will see this in the title of the video, as well as in the description, at Saucy Takes on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And again, Lou, man, I just want to give you the floor here at the end to just talk about everything you do. I know you're on Miami Heat Beat as well, for those of you guys who want to go check out some Heat content, and also just get a perspective from around the league, because Lou does some great stuff with the guys over there. But man, just the floor is yours. Plug anything you want to plug in, and we just appreciate you so much.
Thank you guys, man. Honestly, thank you guys for listening to me. I started the Saucy Takes channel like three years ago. I just got my Twitter notification. It was my friend was like, man, you like talking basketball. Go ahead and talk some basketball. I was like, you're absolutely right. This is what if I could do this for a living, I probably would. But follow me at Saucy Takes just on X. I do MHB content. Obviously, we're doing draft beat. So now we're digging into guards, wings, and big men, obviously. So if you want to come around for those episodes, you guys are more than welcome to. We highly encourage you guys to join us after we play the Spurs, because we go live after every post game, and it's typically very funny and it's entertaining. It's more of a TV show than it is a set podcast. So just follow me if you like my content. That's great. I'll be posting some more things, and I'm thrilled to see what the Spurs do. I don't think you guys can fuck this one up.
Yeah, it helps when you get the second pick and you get a top 4 pick for the 3 years in a row. We didn't even get your thoughts on the what was the lottery, because we did our reaction for that. And even us, like, we're Spurs fans here, as much as there's obviously the Mavericks thing, the Spurs moving up to 2 when the Jazz fall out, the Wizards fall out, the Hornets go down. To me, dude, you can say it's tinfoil cap or whatever, but they're helping the Mavericks out for what they did with the whole Luka trade. This is their reward, and then they want Wemby to have the best supporting cast that he can, so they can market that internationally and just have your next face of the league.
Hey man, I don't disagree with you guys, but part of me as a Heat fan is like, if we would have been 11, man, that probably would have been our number 1 fucking pick. But instead, you know what we're doing? We went out there and decided we have to prove to ourselves that we are a competitive team. So we won 2 playoff games just so we can say first 10th seed to ever make the playoffs. And you know what proceeded to happen? As a shocker to absolutely nobody who watched 84 fucking regular season games of the Heat basketball like I did, we proceeded to lose by the largest margin of defeat in NBA playoff history to the Cleveland Cavs. And at the time, everybody's excuse was the Cavs are just that good. The Cavs got out of there in 5. So if the Cavs got out of there in 5 and we have the worst margin of defeat ever in playoff history, where the fuck does that put us? I'll tell you, at the bottom. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pat Riley. I hate that dude, man. He needs to retire.
Well, we do not hate you, Lou. That is for
Thank
sure.
you.
We love having you on, and this probably won't be the last time this offseason. If you'd like to come on after the draft or even just at
Oh,
other
absolutely.
times to talk about things, I'm sure we'll be in contact. But again,
Mhm.
we appreciate you so much. Again, at Saucy Takes, guys, you guys can go follow him. Man, this was an hour and a half here, Ethan. We really appreciate you guys who sat through this one with us. And again, this is your draft primer for the year. And again, that is all thanks to Lou. So we appreciate y'all. If you want to stay updated with the channel, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button below. If you want to follow us on X or Twitter, at SSPN on YT, at Jude McLaren, at Ethan_Quintero, and at Saucy Takes while we're at it to get your draft content. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Go Spurs, go.